Again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Wanted to do a video simply because I'm hearing folks suggesting that a resurgence of President Trump. In other words, if President Trump is reelected, folks are painting one of the most grim pictures of the United States possible. But I want to hear from you folks because we understand there are political candidates on both sides of the aisle that have people that just hate for no reason at all. So what I want to ask today, in your humble opinion, and I'm willing to admit we're speculating, simply analysis from the folks who are viewing based on what you think would happen, because nobody knows. It hasn't happened yet. But if President Trump is reelected in 2024, what do you think America would be like? No denying folks are unhappy with the economy right now, price at the pump, things like that. But there are other issues that many are concerned with. So we're asking a simple question today. If President Trump is reelected, what do you believe America would be like? There are folks who suggest he would get the economy straightened overnight. There are folks who believe, including Trump, that he could end the Russian-Ukrainian conflict in 24 hours. How many of you believe that? Talk about that as well. But also, a lot of folks on the left, a hell of a lot of his detractors, believe that President Trump would be a divisive president. So a hell of a lot of folks who believe that as well. So that is what we're asking today is, if President Trump is reelected, what do you believe this nation would be like? Would we be on the path to greatness, the path to success, or perhaps something darker, the path to a civil conflict? That's what we're talking about. As always, the program is and forever will remain MAGA friendly. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. Feel free to come in the box. You can disagree with the host all day. Nobody gives a damn. You're entitled to free speech, but I will challenge you on your opinions. Looking in the comments, if he is president, why does he have to get reelected? What are you suggesting, that Trump is currently the commander-in-chief right now? That's coming from Invictus, the final boss. Are you suggesting that right now, in September of 2023, that our current commander-in-chief is Trump? Feel free to elaborate on that. Looking in the comments, the country will go back in time. Wow. Even further than it has. In other words, fuck off, spelled with a PH. I love it. Fuck off says this country will go back in time even further than it has. So many things fought for, now lost. That's grim. I'd love for you to elaborate on that. What would America lose? How would America go backwards? What would put America in a spiral or a rewind if Trump is reelected? Looking in the box, we'll keep it moving right off the bat to Keisha Blue. Trump reelected. Trump, the 47th president of the United States. What would America be like, to Keisha, if we get Trump back in office?
A Whole Food.
A Whole Food? Are you talking about the grocery store?
Food, F-O-O-L. Food.
So, okay, an entire food. You're suggesting that Trump would make
You'll have people running around acting like they lost their man. You'll have Karens and Karen's husbands cutting up. You'll be around here. You'll have laws. They already taking, a couple of little rights away, with the abortion and all that stuff. You'll have more laws that'll favor the white man than even the white women. The white women, bless their heart, that's voting for the Republicans and stuff, and they thinking it really ain't gonna affect them. They better think about how America was great back then. They didn't have no rights themselves.
Well, we know women are losing, at least in certain states, the right to choose. But you're suggesting that white women could find themselves in a bad place. Give me something beyond the loss of abortion rights that a white woman has a reason she has to fear a resurgence of President Trump.
Well, because, back then, they can say no now, even though they say it in a low tone. But back then, them men ruled their wives. This was a white man's land, handsome. Think about it. It was
But
all about the white man. They didn't have no voice for real back then. Come on now.
yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. But
It wasn't just,
you
it
believe.
wasn't just the black. It wasn't just the black people. It was the white women didn't have a voice either.
Yeah, I don't disagree that the country used to be like that, but you believe that is the current aim of Trump to turn America back to before.
Hold on. Let me address some of your comments. I don't do Cocoa Puffs, so I'm not cuckoo. Find a friend. Go ahead, Hansel, for what you said now.
Okay, and that's the point I'm making. You believe that Trump would try to take away women's rights and turn us back into, say, the 1920s?
For a man that would take what he wants from a woman, you think he got any respect about what a woman's rights is? She don't even have the right to keep her panties up on her own without him snatching them down and saying it's mine.
You really think he that bad?
I think that any man that would essay a woman, I don't put nothing past her.
Wow, I don't, and so.
I'm sorry, me and you can disagree on this, but any man that essays a woman doesn't think a woman amounts to anything. Any man that would cheat on his wife while she at home recovering after having a child doesn't value a woman at all. Any man that sits up and talks about how good his daughter looks, and if she wasn't his daughter, what all he doesn't value a woman at all. I don't care who say he does, I say he don't.
So let me ask you this then. If you believe that Trump has so little value of the female species, why the hell aren't women savvy enough to realize it? If what you're saying is true, why are there so many women supporting him?
Because they supporting who they husband tell them to.
So you're making women out to sound like sheep.
You got some women that are some sheep that gonna follow their husband right to hell, going behind them with a suit on, to church, pretending they holy, and they pretend to be holy right behind them. And the whole time they know when he get out of church, he getting drunker than a skunk and talking about people and mistreating people, and they still coming out with this facade because they already know if they don't pretend. See, they take that submissive thing the wrong way.
So.
You got women that.
So here's my point. Let's assume, I don't know if I totally agree with you, but let's assume Trump is as dark as you're painting. Maybe instead of going after Trump, we need to talk to women. If they are following along their husbands to their own demise, isn't that the women's fault as opposed to Trump?
What you gonna say to him?
Wise up.
You know how long people been saying wise up, wise up, wise up. Let me tell you something. We were saying wise up when we was letting them know how we black women were being mistreated and discriminated against. Then all of a sudden, when they come with the, and change, overturn Roe v. Wade, now you want all of us to sing Kumbaya together and come in unity with y'all and help y'all out. Absolutely not.
But
I'm not gonna say nothing to them. I'm gonna let them do exactly what they doing now. Just keep on falling behind their husband. Saying bad.
So I get your point, but you are really making women look like uneducated voters here. You're making it like they.
Not all women. Not all women.
Yeah, but enough of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Hanson. I live in a real world, and it is what it is. I'm not gonna just sit up and take up for women because I'm a woman, and you shouldn't sit up and take up for men just because you're a man. When you see something, you call it out. I'm not gonna pretend that every woman I see is smart, because I've seen some ignorant things come out some women's mouths since this, for the past, let's say about 8 to 10 years. I've seen some women that I thought were really smart look like the most uneducated women I've ever seen in all my life. Now, take Candace Owens, for instance. What group of people swear?
I guess my caller got a call. I wanted to ask her a couple questions. Okay, her phone went down or something. We'll keep it moving. Takesha's always a good conversation, but apparently she had a call because, the icon goes dark. She legit said Republicans are taking rights away and then removed the goalpost and never answered it. And I wanted to ask that, but she basically suggested that the Republican Party was trying to turn things back to right before women gained the right to vote. So the early 1900s. So I suppose, as opposed to getting an answer from her, which I wasn't able to do, just imagine where women were in that era. Couldn't have a bank account. They really couldn't do anything without their husband's approval. Let me make it clear, even though I lean left, me and Takesha may vary on that. I don't see any evidence to suggest Trump wants to go back that far with things. I haven't seen that. I do believe that the goal on the right side of the aisle was a federal abortion ban. I do believe that. But outside of that, taking away women's right to vote, have a job, have a banking account thing, I don't know if I've seen anything from President Trump or any legitimate Republican suggesting they want to take things back to that. So I'm not quite in that camp. That's pretty strong. Looking and that's you're correct. Abortion is not a right. I get it. Looking in the comments, we'll keep it moving with Chris Blessed Dad. Good afternoon, Chris. We're talking about the notion that if Trump is reelected, what would America be like? How do you think America would be? What do you think America would become if Trump gets back in the White House? Good or bad?
I actually think it's going to be good. I think we're going to go back to pre-COVID, and you have to remember, you look at I know Trump likes to say we were energy independent, but we were a lot better off. We were a lot better off on gas prices. And I've been reading some of the comments. And by the way, women got the right to vote in 1920. We're not going back to the 1920s, guys. No. Me and this handsome here, we have a lot of similarities. We agree on a lot of things, and that's not what we're going to be doing. Yeah. That's not.
I'm just being honest. I can be quite critical of Trump at times, but yeah, I'm not in the camp that he's trying to take us back to the early 1900s. I do believe that there are some avenues where things could get rolled back, but I don't know if he's trying to do all of that. I think that's pretty strong.
Right. And I think a lot of people are using the Roe v. Wade, the new Supreme Court decision. It's not even new anymore, but I guess it's been over a year. But I mean, all it did is it returned the rights back to the states. And I think a lot of people need to realize, I don't think any state, I think you'll hear talking points, but when it comes down to state legislators, I don't think anything's going to be turned back to, there's always going to be medical exemptions.
That's not what they're saying, though. To me, I get your point. When someone that is on the right says that they're going to stop at states' rights, to me, speaking in a language you can understand would probably sound to you like a liberal saying we're going to stop at assault rifles. You don't believe it, and we don't believe it, because we've heard 4 of the top prominent Republicans, Mike Pence, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, and even President Trump come out and actively state a federal abortion ban can possibly happen. Mike Pence said on Fox News last week, even though we know Mike Pence is not going to win, but he said last week on Fox News that is his goal, is a federal abortion ban. And the lack of outcry on the Republican side of the aisle makes it clear that even though you guys are saying states' rights, you don't have a problem with a federal abortion ban.
I personally do.
Yeah,
but as far as the party line, I agree with what you're saying. I don't think the party has a problem with it. But,
no.
That's why I don't associate as a Republican. I associate as a conservative.
Okay.
But, because I saw something today I thought was very interesting. I think you would enjoy it. It based the fact of you do not have to be a Republican. You do not have to be a Democrat. You have a belief system. What you do is you find the person that most closely has the same beliefs you do, and that's who you vote for. No matter what they are, no matter if they have a DNR, I don't care. Right. And that's what people, I think, need to do. But, party lines, I think, I do not, my personal belief is we will never get to a federal abortion ban. I don't think it will ever happen. I don't think it.
Yeah, and my personal belief is we'll never lose Second Amendment rights, but there are people who are voting based on the fact that people are talking about taking this stuff away. I mean, you're right. Maybe we'll never get a federal abortion ban, but you're not going to vote for the party that is the very least talking about it. Just like I don't believe you can take away 450 million guns, but if you support the Second Amendment, you're not going to vote for a party that is at least talking about trying to do it.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah. So I believe the Second Amendment, even though it's in the Constitution and abortion is not, they have a lot of parallels because the Republican Party, with their support of the Second Amendment, liberals are trying to take away the Second Amendment because they believe it saves lives. Whether they're right or wrong, that's what they believe. If everybody didn't have guns, you would save lives. The Republican Party believes the same thing about abortion, that if you take away abortion, you're saving lives. That's why both sides are so passionate about these issues.
And I agree. Both sides are very passionate about these issues. On the Second Amendment rights, the fallacy I see with the Democrats' idea of we take away guns. If you ever did take away the right to own a gun, are you affected the Second Amendment? I feel like the law-abiding citizens are the ones that are going to be the ones that give up their guns. The law-abiding citizens will be the ones. And I mean, you're having the same thing going on in New Mexico right now, where the governor has taken away the Second Amendment rights. You're no longer allowed to have a gun.
Where is this?
She suspended all. I'd have to look it up. It's towards the west. It might be Arizona. It might be New Mexico.
Well, let me say this real quick. Just because Chicago comes up all the time when they used to have tough gun laws, and well, if you got tough gun laws, why are people still getting shot? Fact is, in America, no gun laws at the local or state level are going to be effective. The only way any type of gun restrictions or gun laws are going to be effective is if you have a quarantine area where you cannot enter or exit that area without being checked to make sure you're not armed. Japan has tough gun laws. You cannot get in or out of Japan without somebody checking to make sure you have a gun. If you have a tough gun law in Chicago, but you can hit the highway and go to Indiana and come back and nobody checks the car, the gun law is ineffective.
But then you're taking away rights like right to seizure and Fourth Amendment. I mean, we love these rights we have, but there's double sides to everything. The problem I have with gun rights is this: the people that are going to be following the laws are the law-abiding citizens. The criminals don't care. They don't care.
Yeah, but you're basically saying if you outlaw guns, only outlaws that have guns. I've had this discussion before, and what I often bring up is the fact that even though you're right, the criminals are not going to pay attention to the law. The biggest, by overwhelming majority of numbers, the biggest supplier for criminals to have access to firearms are the legal, law-abiding gun owners. That's where criminals are getting their weapons. They're either finding them, stealing them, or purchasing them from legal gun owners. If the legitimate crowd did not have firearms, it would be pretty difficult for the illegal crowd to get them because that's where the supply is.
That's an interesting point. I'll be honest, I've never thought of it that way.
I mean, just think about it. Any gun you take out of the hands of a criminal, if you trace that gun to its origin, it started out with a legal gun owner. Whether they stole it from the guy, whether the guy turned rogue and sold it to him, or maybe he moved out of a house and left it in the attic and the criminal found it. But they're not printing guns. They're not all getting their guns from Mexico. They're not all sitting over in El Paso waiting for a shipment of guns to come in, because America's the one making all the guns, not Mexico. So, by the overwhelming majority of numbers, if you take a gun out of the hand of a criminal and you trace its origin, it started with a legal gun owner. So if that legal gun owner could not have gotten that weapon, the entire link is broken.
I don't think the entire link's broken, but it would make an impact.
To make a big impact.
But the thing is, I mean, I am a law-abiding citizen, served in the military. I have weapons. I have guns. I have to go through a background check. They don't play with it. I mean, I have to go through all that.
Yeah, but how strict is the background check? I mean, what are they? As long as you don't have any crimes, we know from the mental illness side of the aisle, they really don't block you from owning a gun for mental illness to any. I mean, you could be on all kinds of antidepressants and they'll still let you go out and buy an AR or whatever the hell you want. So yeah, if you got crimes, but a lot of these folks that are doing some of this stuff have mental illnesses.
But I think I mean, in Georgia, I think the background check's pretty significant. I'll be honest with you, it's pretty significant. There's a hold weight. There's everything is in place. You can't just you're not going to go in and just buy a handgun the same day. You're gonna now rifles. Yes, rifles are different, and AR-15s do fall under rifles. So there's a point to be made about that. You can go into any store that sells an AR-15, you can walk out with it as long as you pass the background check. Now the background check is connected. I think the background checks are getting better. I do, but I don't. But the criminal aspect of it is, I see where you're coming from on that, and that is a very interesting argument. That if you trace it all the way back, whether it be stolen, someone sold it, because individuals can sell their guns. They don't have to do about it.
Yeah.
It's different when an individual sells to an individual. It's not like you're walking into the gun shop and buying a gun. So there's definitely something.
And that's what you often hear. If you ban guns, a criminal will often be able to get a gun on the street. What they don't tell you is the street is not making guns. Something is supplying the street, and it is legal gun owners, but they don't tell you that. But if you drew a pyramid, the legal gun owners are at the top of the pyramid, supplying everybody below it by some means or another with guns. They are the biggest supplier of weapons.
But see, I still have that feeling that if everybody had a weapon, I mean, is crime really going to be that bad? I mean, if I were a criminal and I knew that I was going into a store where there's a good chance that law-abiding citizens are also carrying weapons, I'd think twice. I mean, I would.
I've heard, I got to move it on, but I want to respond to that real quick. I've often heard, kind of like the phrase, an armed society is a polite society. In my opinion, knowing that everybody has a gun would not stop crime. It would just make for better prepared criminals. Now I know that you're armed, so if I decide to do something to you, I just got to shoot you first. The same reason why cops still get ambushed, even though 100% of them have firearms. Armored car guards still get robbed, even though we know all armored cars feature an armed person. Drug dealers get robbed every day. How many drug dealers are not armed? We know they have guns. It just tells the assailant, you got to shoot them first. That's the only difference, is that now, because everybody is armed, now when you're a victim of a crime, chances are you're getting shot because you're carrying a gun.
So you would say your answer to that is criminals would just be more prepared.
Yeah. What?
Okay.
Well, I'll let you respond, but just think about the phrase. If you ban guns, criminals will find another way. That's a very popular phrase from folks who support guns. If you ban guns, criminals will find another way. If you arm everybody, suddenly they can't find another way?
No, criminals will always find another way.
Right. So if everybody's armed, they're just shooting everybody.
And now we run back into the old West. Now, your original
right.
My answer is yes. I think the country will be better just because I'm looking at pre-COVID numbers, and I think our economy was doing better. The inflation was down, jobs were up. I do think we had a pandemic that affected that significantly, and I do think Trump would do a very, very good job. But I think Trump was doing a good job. Minus the tweets. I mean, there were plenty of times where I would look, I'm like, I wish he would just shut up. I mean, if he just shut up and do what he's doing, he's good. But, his problem is not shutting up. And I'm going to give y'all that. He just won't shut up sometimes.
I can't totally disagree with you, even though I lean left. Chris, stay blessed.
Oh,
appreciate it.
you too.
Absolute. All right, looking in the comments. And by the way, in regards to what the last caller said, that he believes Trump was doing a good job with the exception of the tweets. Even though I lean left, I'm going to say there's a hell of a lot of liberals that are probably feeling that way as well. I mean, it wasn't a lot of folks complaining about $2 gas. The jobs numbers were good under Trump. When you listen to folks who voted against Trump or do not like Trump, particularly those with a passion, it's the tweets. It is that. It's not how he was running the country. It's more the divisiveness. Now, there is pretty much a certainty that if he gets reelected, you're going to get the divisiveness back too. If you believe we're going to get $2 gas, we're going to get energy independence and a lot of those things under President Trump, if he gets reelected, you'd be lying if you didn't think we're going to get the divisiveness as well. Looking in the comments, would you like me to look it up for you? I'm looking at the YouTube comments. Yeah, we absolutely did when they gave up their nuclear weapons. I don't know what you guys are saying on YouTube, but let me continue. Trump played golf and rode Obama's economy wave. Well, Lion Cornerstone, in regards to the notion that Obama left Trump a good economy, I think there's no denying that, even though Trump made it sound like the country was falling apart and we were in Armageddon. I do believe Obama left Trump a good economy. However, that's not to say he could not have screwed it up. Even if he's riding the wave of the Obama economy, if he gets in there and he doesn't screw it up, then he gets credit for that. Because if he did screw it up, we would chastise him for doing that. But if you don't give him credit for maintaining that good economy, then you're basically saying the only thing Trump can do, in my opinion, is something bad. I'm not going to give him credit for riding the wave that Obama left him. I'm only going to say something if he screws it up. That's not fair judgment of the former president. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving. Country Hound Dog. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Asking that question, if Trump is reelected, what would America be like? Country Hound Dog, good afternoon.
How's it going? It's good to see you again. It's been a while since I've got to talk to you. And listening to you guys about the guns back and forth, you made some very valid points, and, the other guy made some valid points. And, it'll always be up for debate on gun control and things like that. Do I think America is stronger with having guns in the public? Yes. If we did not have the guns that we have, we would definitely be open to invasion, because there's no way that our military could fight everybody off if they all came at us.
But why are we paying? You could be right that if we were invaded, we're not going to put up as much of a resistance if everybody is not armed. But why do we jump all the way to the belief that everybody's going to be invading us? There's a hell of a lot of unarmed countries out there that don't feel that everybody is about to invade them. Why do we think like that?
I can say this, and after being in the military and being around this world, I've been in a number of countries, okay? And, in fact, Portugal. I went to Portugal one time. Business for Uncle Sam, that's all I'm going to say. And I will say this. Now, coffee plantations, should they ever worry about being invaded?
It depends on who wants some coffee really bad, I guess. I don't know. I don't get your point.
But I will say this. We were more worried about the coffee plantation guards firing on us than we was the people we were after.
Okay. Let me say this. Let me say it this way. There are a lot of unarmed countries in this world that are not considering we need to have guns just in case we're invaded. Why is the United States opinion on that so different? And I've seen somebody in the comments state that it's because we've invaded so many people. But because you brought it up, what makes you constantly worried about being invaded?
A lot of these countries that don't have guns, simply because they have been invaded and we have been asked to come in and help them.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of countries that have not been invaded that the United States has not come in and helped, and they don't seem worried.
So that is true, and like I said, I don't think there's going to be no one side to the argument. We can probably argue a thousand different reasons both ways.
Right.
There are some guns, I guess, maybe, the public doesn't necessarily, not all the public needs. And because of that, we have what's called a Class 3 license.
Okay.
That is for owning fully automatic weapons, owning suppressors, things like that. Now, if you own those, you have a Class 3 license or a tax stamp, either way you want to call it.
Right.
That means by the government, they know what you have. They know every gun in your house. They know every gun you've ever purchased, unless, like you said, you bought one privately from somebody. But if it's a Class 3 firearm and they sell it to you without letting the FBI know, they are now guilty of a felony.
Let me ask you this. How do you feel? How do you feel about the fact that the overwhelming majority of children losing their lives in schools are losing their lives to these weapons we're discussing? They're not being stabbed. They're not being blown up. It's the weapons we're discussing. Does that make you feel any kind of way at all?
I hate it. It makes me, it sickens me in my stomach, okay? And there was one case, something I saw when I was in Iraq. I won't get into, okay? But children are off limits. Now, let me ask you this in response. We guard Fort Knox. We guard our gold like it's no tomorrow. We guard government buildings like no tomorrow.
Right.
We guard all of our government resources. Our most precious resource, kids. What do? We say, hey, this is a gun-free zone.
Okay. I can respond to that by saying this. You know, I get your point. You're guarding all these other facilities and willing to spend money to guard all this stuff. Why not our most precious resource, which is children? My response is simple. If you're going to only pay teachers $30,000 to $50,000 a year, it's pretty clear you already don't give a damn about these kids. So to come up and say, well, now these teachers who are being paid like shit, where they're barely even getting enough materials to do their actual job, should be handed firearms? I mean, you really expect a good outcome from this?
I'm not necessarily saying the teacher should be given firearms, and definitely not all teachers should have them, okay? Same as regular civilians. Not everybody should have them. If you're mentally disturbed or something, then no, you shouldn't, okay? However, I can tell you a plethora of veterans who have come home and have no problem volunteering, just volunteering their time, not being paid at all, but volunteering their time, willing to go in and guard these schools. And every one of them was told, no, we don't want you here. We don't want you guarding these kids.
I can tell you why. First of all, there's a ridiculous amount of liability, because if you are guarding the school, you are far more likely to get into a conflict with another student that is acting crazy as opposed to a mass shooter. We don't want armed teachers or armed veterans, as you put it, getting, into a conflict with some student that's trying to start a fight and getting shot. I mean, that's what's far more likely to happen, because over 99.9% of U.S. schools will never have a mass casualty event. But if you start putting all these armed people everywhere, just like in society, there are armed people everywhere, and a hell of them don't do the right thing. If you put them all over the schools, there are going to be a percentage of them, just statistically speaking, in any case where you put more of something, there is more of a chance of it going wrong. So when you start putting armed people all around our kids all over America, some of them are going to snap and do the wrong thing.
Well, I mean, that could be said for police officers as well.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I live in Olive Hill, Kentucky, and West Carter High School, they have an armed police officer there. Where I lived at in Tennessee, those schools had armed cops. What is the difference between a cop who has possibly been overseas and a good chance of being a veteran himself, who has been vetted, okay? Now they have been vetted, as well as can be vetted, okay? Vetting process is not perfect, I'm sure you can agree, all right? But if we have veterans who have been vetted, and again, the vetting process, nothing is perfect, but it's just a fact that hopefully with them there, and like I said, they didn't even ask for money. They didn't even ask to be paid. They just wanted to guard the children, okay?
And I get your point. My answer is exactly what I just stated. Like, when you look at cops who have training and all of this before they get a firearm, all you got to do is go on YouTube and put in, cop shoots unarmed person or corrupt cop, and you get just enough material to watch for days on end. Can you imagine if you put them in schools and you could suddenly see videos of cops tasing and shooting unarmed children to that same degree? Because we have cops with firearms all over society. Most of them are good. But there is just talking statistics, when you put more of something in an environment, there's a higher likelihood of failure. There's not enough schools being shot up, for lack of a better term, to basically, define giving everybody firearms in the schools. Because I do believe that you would have a lot more incidents where teachers are basically taking the life of a student that was, fighting in class, or a student that was, how many videos you see of kids beating students or kids beating teachers online? Imagine if those teachers were armed, or somebody else rushed to the scene that was armed. I think that the amount of killings would actually go up.
And, and anything is a possibility.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned that, you just type in the search about cops shooting unarmed.
Yeah.
If, you can search anything. But let me ask you this. I'm sure I know you watch the news.
Wait, I'll let you finish, but real quick, in response to your comments, you can search anything. Try searching mailman shoots unarmed person and see the difference between cops and mailmen, or gas man shoots unarmed person. There's a big difference with cops, but go ahead and continue.
Right, and you're right. But what the point I'm driving at is this. When was the last time on any news source did you see where they have praised cops for doing the right thing, for doing the correct thing, or praised somebody else, a armed civilian who did the right thing, managed to save people? When you do the search, people seem to thrive off of eating up the bad. They rather see all the bad stuff to happen than see all the good. So what we tend to post and what we always see, there's more bad stuff posted than there is good.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that for two reasons. First of all, many would tell you there are good cops posted in the media and in news all the time. There are plenty of, you can see kids playing basketball with kids in the hood. There are plenty of good cops out there, and they do get coverage. But I agree with you in saying you're going to see bad acts sensationalized because it gets ratings. It would be just like I talk about Candace Owens all the time. She don't talk about blacks doing good shit because it wouldn't get her ratings for her audience. So I do agree with you that the media has an agenda to show bad cops, but they're not making it up, though. It's not like they're desperate to find bad cops for ratings, so they're making up stories. No, they're able to find real content.
And that is true. I agree with you on that. Hey, I'm going to ask you one more question, okay?
Sure.
Because I want to know your opinion. I've been trying to find you on a live to ask you this for a while, okay?
Okay.
In the 70s, okay, and apparently it was after Nixon was president. I don't know when the law actually came about. I haven't found a whole lot on it. But there was a case, Nixon versus Gerald. And it was because of classified documents. They apparently went after Nixon over classified documents. And under this.
Okay, I don't know if my caller got a call. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go.
After this ruling of Nixon versus Gerald, because he was president, they was not allowed to prosecute him on anything dealing with classified documents. Do you know anything more about the Nixon versus Gerald decision?
I haven't heard that. We know that Gerald Ford ultimately pardoned Nixon for his other issues, so I don't know anything. I haven't heard what you're talking about, but you're saying that they prosecuted Nixon, was it while he was in office or after he left?
I believe it was after. I don't know if it was during his time in or after. I'm having a hard time finding anything on it, but I did find a law that says under Gerald versus Nixon, and looking at it, it does apply to Biden as well. because he is current president, he cannot be prosecuted for classified documents being stored at his house, but it also would apply to Trump. It would apply to
Well,
Obama.
hold on a second. Here's the difference, though. While you're president, you got the right to see any damn thing. But that doesn't mean you get to take it to your house and keep it after you've left office. So you can have access to something while president and lose access to it after you're out of office. So I don't believe that once you're president, you forever can take anything with you and keep it without first officially noting it as declassified.
And I do agree with you. If it is still classified, you should not be allowed to keep it afterwards. But I'm just wondering if that landmark decision is going to play into the defense for Trump. And if it does, then that's going to clear him of those charges.
Well, first of all, keep in mind, Trump is dealing with 91 charges, so he could shoot down 20 of them and still fall victim to 70. For instance, when they're in regards to the documents, they're also getting them with obstruction of justice, suggesting that they asked for the documents back, and he was finagling and telling folks to delete servers and all kinds of Hillary Clinton-esque type shit. And you got folks that are on his own team that are willing to testify to it. So even if he had some legitimate claims like what you're making, the obstruction is a different claim. Like, for instance, if the police tries to mess with you and you are totally innocent, but you resist in the process, you can get a resistant arrest charge even though you're actually innocent of the actual crime. So I don't think that'll help out the obstruction charge.
That is true. Like I said, I was wondering if you'd heard about that decision.
No, I haven't.
Because I was digging on it, and it's kind of vague. What I have found, it's just hard to decipher through all the BS on the internet. But it was a landmark decision. It is in the congressional materials in Washington, D.C. So I just, like I said, I wanted to ask you about that, see what your thought was. Because you're one of the few people that, no matter what side we're from, you'll gladly have a conversation with us.
Yeah, that is the goal. All right, and you've given me a homework assignment. I see in the comments, NC Blue Dot is saying that case was in regards to Ford administration trying to get his Watergate tapes. But I'll look into it and see what I can find. But I do got to move it on, Country Hound. Always a pleasure.
Sir.
Good talk. Thank you. All right. Yeah, looking in the comments, not if people are going to use it for bad intention, which happens on both sides. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. The sexual preference of adults in first grade is wrong, and my YouTube comments are kind of weird today. I don't know why, but let me go back to the box on TikTok. Can you talk about the New Mexico gun ban? Shane, we were discussing that a moment ago, and I've already stated that local city and state gun laws do not work. The only way you're going to have a successful gun law that's going to really make a difference if you have it in an area that's quarantined, where you cannot enter or exit an area without being checked for firearms. Every country on the planet that has gun laws where there's very few firearms among the citizens in those countries, it's because you can't get in or out of that country without somebody patting you down for guns. I lived in Australia. When you go into Australia, you got to go through customs. They're going to check all your shit. That's not to say there's zero guns in Australia, but you can't enter and exit that country without being checked for firearms. That makes it significantly harder to get firearms. If New Mexico, the state of New Mexico, passes a tough gun law, but you can travel between New Mexico and Arizona, Utah. What are all the states that surround New Mexico? Texas, Arizona, Utah. All of those are gun-friendly states. You can go to Arizona and come back home and nobody's checked the car? What good is the gun law? Nobody even knows if you left and came back with a cache of weapons. I'm from, personally, the south side of Chicago. When I grew up, they had tough gun laws in Chicago. They really don't much now, but they did. You could drive to Indiana 10 minutes away, a gun-friendly state, come right back into Chicago, nobody checks the car. That's what they were doing. Going right to Indiana or Wisconsin and coming back with firearms. So if there's no quarantine of the area, the gun law isn't going to do you any good. Looking in the comments. We'll keep it moving with Black Eagle Patriots. Good afternoon, Black Eagle Patriots. Talking about if Trump is reelected, what would the country be like? If Trump gets back in office, number 47 this time, Black Eagle Patriots. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, big brother. How are you today?
It's a pleasure. Doing good. President Trump back in the White House. What would America be like?
You know, I believe if Trump is back in the White House, I believe he strengthens the border. I think that would be among one of the first objectives. I think he would then create, some type of alliance, to thwart the BRIC alliance. I think that is a clear and present.
I got to interrupt. Was Trump really good at bringing people together and creating alliances?
I think internationally, yes.
Give me some examples. Give me some examples.
Well, I think he had a really good relationship with, Putin.
That ain't real good to have on your resume, but keep going.
But nonetheless, I mean, that relationship could have prevented, an attack on the Ukraine. That would have been, something we could look forward. We could have, had done to prevent that conflict from happening.
But I've heard the fact that he had a decent relationship with Kim Jong-un and Putin, like what you're talking about. But here's the problem I have with that. If you have Trump in office and he has a good relationship with Putin, and less than a year or two after Trump is out of office, Putin is already invading other countries. What good is the relationship? Trump is not a dictator. We can't have him doing deals that benefit the United States only while he's in office. If you're not getting treaties signed or some type of lasting deal, then it's only contingent for you to be president. I mean, he has a max of 4 years. Any dictator looking to acquire a country can wait 4 years, can't they?
But you have to realize what Trump was dealing with. Trump is a Washington outsider. He doesn't have all the tentacles that all of those career politicians had accumulated over the years. And not only that, he had the weight of the 2 FBI officers, Page and Strzok, who stated they do everything in their power to prevent him from becoming president.
Do you think what you're naming, the stuff you're naming, do you think that hindered Trump's presidency?
I think all of that hindered Trump's presidency.
So, go ahead.
I think these charges all were part of that conspiracy. I think everything, Trump was never allowed to balance. If you're in a boxing match with someone and they're constantly keeping you off balance and heavy, realities, he was brilliant in like, Ali. Ali was the rope-a-dope. He was brilliant in his rope-a-dope, and thwarting every effort made against him. He wasn't intended to be a successful president by all of the forces around him. It's like
I get your analogy, but it makes me want to ask this question. And by the way, folks, tap the screen. I haven't been asking you folks to do that. Get your boy up to around 30,000 and 700 plus of you in here. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Get your boy likes up. I forgot to ask that. But I want to ask you this, Black Eagle. If you believe everyone from the weaponized DOJ to the FBI to even liberal elites hindered Trump presidency, one question. What about that has changed in regards to him being reelected? If he gets elected in 2024, what about those hindrances has went away so that he could be a decent president in the future?
Well, that's the point. It's like our democracy is in peril right now. This election has far-reaching implications for the country's survival.
And, but I don't. But he promised to get rid of these entities, such as drain the swamp when he got elected. He had 4 years, and even folks who support Trump are admitting the swamp has grown because a hell of a lot of the swamp creatures are now people he brought to Washington, like Mike Pence and Mitch McConnell. You guys are critical. So the swamp actually grew under Trump's watch, and now we're saying the best person to get rid of the swamp is the guy who was president when it grew. That's confusing me.
Let me explain my logic. Okay, let's say this, hypothetically speaking.
Sure.
And although I do believe this, but I want to protect, myself personally.
Okay.
But if you're telling me that our government in its current state can weaponize the DOJ, can weaponize all of these entities that we rely on as citizens. If they could weaponize it against one, it can be weaponized against any.
Okay.
And that fact alone, I don't know if you've ever read Thoreau, but, we're in a state where, the governmental corruption is so deep that if Trump doesn't win, I believe it's likely. See, January 6th, for me, I think that was a foreshadowing.
Of what?
Because ultimately, if we are dealing with a faulty election system that can be weaponized, if there's a candidate that we don't, or quote unquote the majority don't like, it almost reminds me of what King talked about when he said an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere.
Okay, I listen. Let me hold on. Let me interrupt and ask this. Now, let's assume everything you said is true, where they're weaponizing all of this stuff against President Trump. If they were able to do this successfully against him in between 2016 and 2020, why is he the man to put back in office to get it under wraps when he clearly couldn't get it under wraps the first time? Let's say everything you're saying is true. Wouldn't that mean you should pick somebody else? This guy has clearly failed at preventing these systems from being weaponized because they happened while he was president. Why would you put him back in office?
Because if it's almost like 2/3 of the heavenly body rebelling against God. Okay, I'm gonna give you that analogy from Paradise Lost. It's like, or the rookie police officer who comes in and notices, corruption going on, and all of the police now come after him. We gotta at some point rely on faith, especially when you're doing the right thing.
But here, listen, this is the problem I have. And you're right about relying on faith. I say that all the time. I believe that a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of it is faith-based because he was in office for 4 years, and when he got elected, before he got elected, in fact, came on the escalator in 2015, told us the system was rigged, told us everything you're talking about right now, and served for 4 years, and after he left, everything you're talking about right now still exists. And we're being told the only man that can fix it is the guy who was in office and fixed none of it. That's what is baffling me. You got an echo. Can you hear me? Okay, I don't know what my last caller did, but I wanted to talk to him, but he made some type of audio change. Nevertheless, let's keep it moving. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 30,000 likes. We're asking a question. A resurgence of President Trump, number 47, back in the White House. What would America be like? All of us, liberals and Republicans, enjoyed $2 gas, enjoyed the job numbers. Inflation was lower under President Trump. Nevertheless, division was off the chain. This was not a united America. So if President Trump was reelected, what could we expect in regards to how this country is ran, unity, just the overall tone of America? What would it be like in America if Trump was put back in the White House? That's what we're asking. Looking in the box, Trump spent more time defending himself against Dems rather than working together. Jacob Smith, I do agree. Trump spent a hell of a lot of time defending himself, which is why I was asking the last caller. If you're willing to admit Trump defending himself from 2016 to 2020 hindered his ability to do anything in office, what the hell do you expect now that he's got 91 charges and a host of Republicans that don't like him as well? When he got elected in 2016, for the most part, as of his inauguration in 2017, when he became president, he had a united Republican Party, for the most part. The party is, talking about the Republicans, not even the liberals. The Republicans are nowhere near as united in 2023 as they were in 2017 when he got elected. So now, not only do we have the liberals after him, he's got a bunch of Republicans that don't like him as well. So if you believe that people who did not like Trump hindered his ability to perform, how are we expecting greatness when his amount of enemies have gotten bigger? I'm just trying to get clarity on that point. Looking in the box, the fact that Mitch McConnell probably won't be around, I can't see Republicans making it. Well, don't count Mitch McConnell out. Don't count Mitch McConnell out. You don't know who Mitch McConnell is running against. You don't know what the heartbeat of Kentucky is, because you had a hell of a lot of folks on the right talking about term limits, talking about Biden's age, and they voted Mitch McConnell back in. Not only did they vote Mitch McConnell back in, even after Trump started criticizing Mitch McConnell, the Republican Senate made Mitch McConnell the Senate minority leader. So they have continued to keep promoting Mitch McConnell. Liberals have done quite a bit with Nancy Pelosi as well. But I just want to point that out, because folks on the right are yelling term limits and talking about age, but then when they're given a chance to do that, they actually give Mitch McConnell the highest position in the Senate. It's no huge outcry among Republicans to get rid of Mitch McConnell. There's a few, but there's certainly nowhere near to the level they're talking about Biden. I mean, the guy got on television and literally filmed an episode of Frozen 2. And we're talking about Biden falling off bikes and things like that. We're talking about Biden can't read a teleprompter, doesn't know where he is. Mitch McConnell clearly did not know where he was. In fact, his auditory nerve apparently turned off because he wasn't even responding to anybody. And there's not a big outcry to get Mitch McConnell out of power. Going back to the box. Kane, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Talking about President Trump, resurrection. Number 47, being President Trump. What would America be like? Kane, what say you?
Hello, Tim. It would be a revenge tour, nothing but revenge. He wouldn't get anything done because just like the Republicans and the Democrats would be against him, and the people that are in the Congress. So that's the reality here. Nothing would change. He was a failed president in his 4 years in office, and it wasn't because people are after him. Stop it. Stop. I mean, he brought him on himself. Like, come on, man. He brings it on himself. Just like this document case you brought up. He brought it on himself. Yeah. He didn't need to go through this. All he had to do was give them people back their shit. But he chose to pretend like he was fucking a gang. And he didn't have to do what people told him to do. That's the problem.
But in regards to him,
when you have somebody who thinks that they have unadulterated power and that they think they are the ultimate power, instead of acknowledging the president is the least powerful person in America, the presidency ain't shit. The only power a president has is in the rest of the world. He don't got no power in America. The Congress runs this country, not the president. He can't declare war. He can't do shit without the Congress. He can't spend money. He can't do jack.
I don't know if I rank the president. Go ahead.
Okay, well, tell me what you think. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think the president's power is as low as you're making it sound, but I do agree that he was not able to drain the swamp. But when you mention he's a failed president, I don't know. Before COVID, let's go to Trump's administration before COVID kicked in late 2019. Would you have said he was a failed president up to that point?
Absolutely. He had the highest border crossings in American history in 2019. The only time Donald Trump controlled the border was in 2020, and that was only because of COVID. And that was only because of remaining Mexico. I feel like y'all don't even live in reality. Like, this wall did not come until COVID came.
What about the economy?
Until 2020.
What about the economy as of 2019? You don't give him any credit for that?
The economy, Obama's fucking baton.
Okay.
When he walked into this place, the country was doing good. He just fucking kept it going. So it's not like he came in and he got it like Joe Biden came into office and the shit was in the red, right? He didn't dig us out of nothing. He was just copacetically moving forward. That's what I'm saying. I feel like we're all living in fucking alternate realities.
I don't know. I think you're judging the man kind of harshly on the economy. Even if he took a good economy from Obama, it actually got better under Trump. It didn't get worse. It didn't stay the same. It incrementally got better under Trump. You don't give him any credit at all.
When Obama left office, when Obama left office, it was what, 4.2%? He got it to 3.6.
Does he get credit for that? Does he get credit for that?
Yes.
Okay.
I will give him credit for that.
Right.
I will give him credit for the stock market. I will give him credit for what else? What else are we giving him credit for? What major bills did he pass besides the tax scam that we're all paying for the rich right now? What else did he do?
There was no
landmark bill that this man can claim. Like, what else did he do?
No major military conflicts. Does he get any credit for that? We've had him under Obama, Bush. We've been having him for years. Under Trump, no major military conflicts.
You must have forgot that he let the Kurds get fucking slaughtered in Syria. He left our partners to get slaughtered. As soon as he walked into office, he dropped the biggest bomb we have in our arsenal. What is that they call the Moab?
The Moab, mother of all bombs. So you're basically saying you're blaming Trump when Trump suggested he didn't get us in any military.
You said there was no conflict.
No, I'm asking you. I'm asking you. When I said there's no military conflict, you said he let the Kurds get slaughtered. What you're saying is he should have had a military conflict in defense of the Kurds.
I'm saying we're Americans. We don't let our people our partners get killed.
The hell we don't. Yeah, we do. We
don't. That's why when they attacked our country, what's today? 9/11. When our country got attacked, the whole world came with us. All our partners went and rode with us, right? They joined our military. They didn't fucking leave us alone to fight and find the people who did this to our country. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, you and I got a disagreement on it because that partnership you're talking about, the coalition of the willing that Bush put together, because a lot of folks believe we were basically barking up the wrong tree and blaming the wrong people for 9/11. That's how the whole Iraq war kicked off, starting out by blaming Saddam Hussein for it. And go ahead.
Again, yeah, you're right. I'm not sitting here legitimizing what Bush fucking did. Him and Dick Cheney lying about WMDs. I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is baseline. When it was time to suit up, our partners suited up with us. Before anything else, that's the point I'm making. You don't leave your people stranded, right? That's the whole point of the
That's a good point. That's a good point. So I would have to ask you, in regards to we get attacked, our people suit up and they're ready to fight with us. Knowing historically now how much we misled our suited up people, took them into a conflict that had nothing to do with the actual cause. Do you think they would suit up quickly like that now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Maybe not with him. Maybe under him. I mean, because remember, he was trying to. I mean, he was America first, America only, America by themselves, right? Like, remember when he was over in the United Nations and he was like against Germany. He was against everybody. France. He was hated by all of them.
So
that
what
was
you're
not a partnership.
That's a good point. So what you're basically saying is, because Trump is always on the world stage talking about America first, if a conflict broke out where we needed assistance, they may look at him and say, I thought you said you could do it by yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly my point. And we don't need to be alone in the world of fucking crazy. now. But anyway, I ask again, what else can you name that he did? Yes, fine. The economy was fine before COVID. But again, we all know a president is responsible for all 4 years of his presidency. Just like nobody's giving Joe Biden any leniency when he walked into bullshit and now the economy's going down. I mean, the economy we got inflation right now. Nobody's giving Joe Biden any fucking leniency. So why are we giving him leniency? Because
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Now, as a detractor of Trump, somebody who is not favorable to Trump, this is not accolades, but I'm going to tell you why folks who support Trump like this stuff. 50 years of attempting to get Roe v. Wade reversed. Trump actually got that done. Trump has left him with 6 Supreme Court justices. If we had a liberal in office that gave us 6 Supreme Court justices and possibly roll back some Second Amendment rights, we treating him like he is God, which is exactly what they're doing. Just because we don't like his accomplishments do not mean they are not accomplishments. You see what I'm saying?
Hands down, agree. A man changed the courts. I think he appointed 396 federal lifetime judges as well around the country.
Right.
Is that, I mean, if that's it, if that does, to me, what you're talking about is nothing for the America. That did not improve America. That was just your conservative wet dream. That was your conservative wet dream that you fucking acted out in reality. To me, that's nothing for all Americans. He was not a president for all Americans. That's the problem that I have with Trump.
But Rainey, you're not going to...
He was the president of Republicans. He was not the president of the United States of America.
I get your point, but if you were to give ideal accomplishments that Biden needs, let's say you had a liberal in there and they did everything that made Rainey 100% happy, the Republicans would say exactly what you just said. These are not good things for all of America. He did what his constituents wanted him to do.
Well, no, we had to listen to the man talk about infrastructure week for 4 years straight. 4 years. He didn't get it done. Joe Biden did.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
I'm just simply saying.
Compare Joe Biden and Donald Trump. My point is, let's live in reality here, man. This man was not a good president. Okay, the economy didn't fall through. All right, period. That's not what happened. It did not fall through. He carried the torch. That's it.
Do you give him credit during one of the nation's worst pandemics, giving folks stimulus checks and making sure they could make it through that time? Do you give him credit for that at least?
I do.
Okay, there we go. We're getting somewhere. All right, Rainey. Always.
Love you, baby.
Absolute. Good talk. All right, now, and I want to say this, even though I tend to lean left, I'm able to see both sides. Sometimes I even am willing to play devil's advocate, certainly like with my last caller, who I enjoyed talking to. Nevertheless, I am not one to suggest any president is all bad. When folks on the right are, why the hell would you vote for Biden? I can answer that. Why the hell would you vote for Trump? I can answer that because both have some good qualities. If you're on the left, yeah, Trump is 100% bad. If you're on the right, Biden sucks all the time. But you have to look at it from the eyes of the people that supported these folks. And in regards to the comment, you are a president for everybody, not just for the right or for the left. It generally doesn't work that way. If you're a president and you get a bunch of things accomplished, chances are the party that voted you in are going to love you, and the party that voted you out are going to think you didn't do things for them. I don't know if there's any way around that. Certainly in a tribalistic, divided society like we currently have. But we'll keep it moving. Looking in the comments, Trump is president for Republicans only, says Gigi. Not completely. I do agree that his policies, his goals and aims are far more beneficial to Republicans. After all, we're not electing the guy, so why the hell would he give a damn about us? But I will say this. If he gets in office and the price of fuel goes down, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if it does, that's for everybody. That's not just for Republicans. If he gets inflation under control, that's for everybody. If he is able to stop the Iranian-Russian war in 24 hours, I think is a pipe dream. But if he does accomplish that, that's for everybody. So he is doing things, any president is, They are going to do things that benefit both parties. Like what my last caller admitted to at the end of the call, everybody benefited from those stimulus checks during the pandemic when everything was closed. That's not just for one person. But overall, the guy is elected by the Republican Party. There are going to be far more happier Republicans than liberals. That's just the way it's going to be. Looking in the box or in the comments first, why would you want a person who has 91 charges over his head? That is a lot of charges. Answer is simple. They believe all the charges are fraudulent, witch hunts, made up, politically motivated to try to prevent the man from being president again. So that you're not looking, when you look at it from the right side of the aisle, they're not being against Trump for 91 charges and suggesting we don't give a damn how criminal he is. We like, Al Capone. We revoke it. No, they believe the charges are made up. They believe the charges are not legitimate. They believe he is an innocent man being railroaded. It could be 1,000 charges for that matter. If they're all witch hunts created by the liberals to take the guy from office, it doesn't matter that he's facing charges. They're not legitimate anyway. I'm putting on my right-wing hat and giving you my best opinion on that. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with Matt Meinhardt. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 50,000 likes. Almost 1,000 of you in here. You could be anywhere you want to be on this app. Pleasure having you here. Good afternoon, Matt Meinhardt. Trump reelected. What do you think America would be like?
Honestly, I think it will be better off because now, like me and you've talked before, I am a person who votes somebody based on if they used to win my vote. For example, I voted for Obama, his second term.
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you real quick, because I do this all the time. I just want to say it once more again for the 1,000th time. I am amazed at how many people that support Trump tell me that they voted for Obama. It is insane. You got to be like the 100th person. But continue on.
Yeah, look, Obama did win my vote, his second term, because that was my first term I was able to actually vote for. I thought he had done a decent enough job for what at least from a 18-year-old kid's perspective. Okay. I thought everything was great because I'm like, I didn't see the way the world was. But then after I got out into the world, I was served in the United States military. I'm like, you know what? Maybe things aren't as great as I thought. I watched the elections. I'm like, you know what? I think this guy might do a better job. Elected the next guy.
Okay.
And you know what? I was happy with his thing. I voted for him the second time too.
All right.
And I would vote for him a third time.
You're talking about Obama.
No, Trump.
So
I got disillusioned with Obama afterwards.
So let me ask you the question I've seen in the comments. Does the fact that Trump is facing so many criminal accusations, does that make a difference in your opinion of him at all?
Honestly, no, because I've been watching a lot of stuff on that. And do you know who Judge Joe Brown is?
Absolutely, yes.
Did you hear his what he said about all this?
Yeah, but he is one man, though.
Yeah, but he talked about. I've seen a lot of lawyers and judges talk from a legal perspective, and they say that it has no real standing in court.
I would go ahead.
If people are going to talk this the way they are, honestly, I do believe this is a witch hunt. And what a lot of people fail to realize is politics is a pendulum. When you swing the pendulum too far to one side, eventually that pendulum is going to swing back. And a lot of Democratic leaders are far more guilty of the same stuff they're accusing Trump of when they didn't have some of the same protections. Like, for example, Biden had documents from when he was a senator. Mm-hmm. He didn't have the legal rights to have any of those documents. Obama has a library of documents because he was a president. He has a certain amount of rights to certain documents.
But what about the obstruction charge, where they're saying that they gave Trump time to hand the documents over, and he deliberately, basically just gave them the runaround and was basically trying to get his own technicians and things like that to lie to the feds and maintain possession of them?
I honestly don't know much about that personally. Like that.
What if that comes out in court? What if it comes, you can give me your opinion either way, but what if it comes out in court in regards to their obstruction charge that what I'm saying is valid, where they gave him plenty of time and he was making it clear, I'm not giving these back no matter what? Would that make any difference in your opinion of him?
If the documents were sensitive enough, they had to be given back. Yes, it would make a difference. But if they are not, if people are, they're trying to claim documents that weren't like hypersensitive, like I'm talking like nuclear launch codes, which are honestly.
But why? Even if they're not very sensitive, why the hell are you fighting with the feds? Why is he trying to hold on to this so strongly?
Because. Honestly, I don't know why he's holding on to him so strongly, but there could be a very good reason. And the same thing is, if that's the case, and because the whole Democratic argument about the documents is that they were classified. The
right.
word they keep throwing out.
Right.
So then why has no one gone through Obama's admitted library of documents he has from when he was president?
We don't know. Maybe they have. We don't know.
Thing is, Biden had documents that were somewhat classified from when he was a senator. He had no rights to those. So people fail to realize that.
But that goes back to my obstruction charge that Trump is facing. When they came to Biden said, "Hey, here's the key to the garage. Go check it out." Mike Pence said, "Wherever you need to look, you have assets." Trump was like, "Hell no, my place is off limits." That's a difference.
I don't know why he fought so hardly, and honestly, at the same time though, it would be the same as if, like, say I was a politician and you were also a politician.
Okay.
And you and me were not on the same side. We didn't agree at all.
All right.
And I think you have something I want, so I'm gonna motivate my law enforcement now to go after you. Are you going to openly accept, go, sure, when you might think, you might be under the impression that there is a politically driven attack?
Yeah, I get your point, but we would have to see evidence that Biden motivated law enforcement to go after Trump. I haven't seen evidence of that.
I have seen some, and I will forward it to you, and I have to go back and look for it where I have it, but there was some actual statements from FBI agents where they said they didn't want to go in, but they were told this is coming from the top. And the top would mean Garrett Marlin, head of the Department of Justice, who was taking his orders from president.
Well, when we talk about Garrett, for instance, I mean, I think you're talking about the same guy that was Obama's original Supreme Court justice pick, and they blocked him or something like that. For all we know, huh?
Yeah, Garrett Marlin.
Yeah, for all we know, Merrick Garland's vendetta against Trump may be personal. It may have nothing to do with Biden. Once you block this man from a rightful Supreme Court pick, you may have created an enemy out of Merrick Garland that Biden has nothing to do with.
I do see that, but that would be a party thing, and even then, I don't think I firmly believe that the orders to the FBI were coming from the administration.
Yeah, but there's no way to prove that. When you just use the phrase "the top," according to your statement, the top could be Merrick Garland. He for the guy who has for the guy who's making that quote, for him, Merrick Garland is part of the top.
Yeah.
It ain't got to be Biden. It doesn't. We want it to be Biden. If we're supporting Trump, it makes far more sense to make it an us versus them to make Trump's fight complete. Which is why you don't hear Trump talking about the fact that there's dozens of Republicans that are after him as well. He only tells you it's the liberals trying to stop me. He don't bring up Mike Pence and all these other people, huh?
That's why for me to vote for him again, which I said I would vote for him, is if he wins the nomination. If he doesn't win, say, for example, the Republican nomination, there's no chance the third party's going to win. I know that. So it would come down to who the Democrats.
What if he's not on it? What if he's not on the ballot? What if the feds successfully, you even got states like Colorado trying to use 14th Amendment. But what if he is not on the ballot?
They're not going to be able to do. I firmly believe there is no way they're going to succeed with the 14th Amendment.
I want to.
It's not going to.
Matt, I want to agree with you. Definitely want to agree with you to suggest that there's no way to do it. But when you look at Trump, the man has broken more records than Simone Biles and Michael Phelps combined. I mean, how many things have happened to Trump that we would have looked back and said they'll never do this? They'll never raid his house. They'll never impeach him twice. They'll never charge him with 91 charges. Don't believe anything at this point cannot happen in favor of Trump or against Trump. Even when he won.
The man is definitely a man of first.
Yeah. Even when the guy won, we believed it would never happen.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. At first, I was very firmly. I voted for him, but I still believed that the way the media was portraying everything, that Hillary Clinton was going to win. But when she lost, I was like, oh my God, she actually lost.
Yeah.
But going back to something similar to what the last question you were talking about with Trump is people like to believe, the mainstream media put out that us and our allies, that Trump drove a wedge between us. When in actuality, he didn't. He drove most of our allies closer together.
I don't see.
A lot of people like on the world stage go, Trump's a joke. Yeah, a lot of people did that. But at the same time, a lot of those people also knew that if push came to shove, Trump would be the first leader to have no holds barred. If someone touched one of his allies, he would send in the hell itself.
You really believe that our allies thought that Trump would have their back when he's literally having private meetings with a lot of their enemies? I mean, if you're in Eastern Europe and Trump is speaking favorably of Putin and actually meeting with him and inviting him to the White House, you're going to find yourself saying, well, if Putin attacks us, I know I can depend on Trump to go after Putin. You think they felt that way?
Here's the thing about Putin is a lot of people have to understand that there's a very big policy of keep your friends close and your enemies closer. It's always a good, why should it, I always was bewildered when people go, we shouldn't negotiate with these people. It's like, negotiation is how you avoid war.
Not if none
you have to have a dialogue.
If you're negotiating, Matt, if you're negotiating with somebody and nothing's coming out of it, for instance, we see Kim Jong-un is acting a fool and Vladimir Putin has started a war since Trump left office. So looking back, when we look back right now, what are the benefits?
He's only acting a fool is because he no longer fears reprisals.
So in other words, Trump was only valuable against these people while he's in office. The minute he leaves, he goes away.
That's the same thing with a lot of world leaders. Obama's no longer useful to anybody. No one's wants to hear what Obama has to say on the world stage because he's not the president anymore.
Yeah, but we still can use Obamacare. The fact is, Obama's deals are still valuable now. You're saying Trump's deals only have a lifespan of
some of Trump's trade deals are still in effect now.
Well, the one about keeping us from having military conflicts has no effect at all.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, one of the things is Trump put us on a stage, on a pedestal, and the problem was that if Biden would have maintained what Trump was doing with the military and the way we were active with it, he would have maintained that. I think he would have maintained it, honestly.
Yeah.
He would have maintained that level because he would have been able to keep up the show of force. For example, when Australia, let's not use open military conflict, but do you remember when Australia was on fire in the outback?
Yeah.
Do you remember what every single nation was doing? Everyone was saying, our thoughts and prayers are with Australia. We'll send some money to Australia. Do you know what Trump did?
No.
He sent the 7th U.S. Naval Fleet out of Japan down to Australia because, like they say, every Marine is a rifleman. Every sailor is a fireman. And he sent naval personnel down there to help relieve the Australians and sent us in to fight fires to give them a break.
Okay. Well,
and Australia openly admitted was the only world leader to send any actual tangible support, and it helped. It actually, honestly helped.
All right, fair enough. And and that's what I said. I don't think the Trump presidency was all bad. But when it comes to the belief that folks believe that if something kicked off, we could depend on Trump to defend them. That part I disagree with, because I definitely believe if Trump is meeting with Kim Jong-un and inviting him to the White House, South Korea has got to be looking at that like, no, this ain't right. But you and I.
The funny thing is, after Kim Jong-un and Trump had their conversations, the president of South Korea actually said he was fully in support of what Trump was doing, because it actually came with an actual end to this the Korean War that had been at ceasefire since the 60s.
Okay.
They actually, under Trump, signed an actual declaration of peace between each other.
I don't know.
Now that Trump's no longer there, North Korea no longer fears it, so they tore up the agreement.
But
the thing is,
so there's no value to that then. That's what I'm saying. If all you can do is provide security while you're around and after you're gone it disappears, waiting 3 years until a guy disappears, there's no value to that.
But the problem that's not Trump's fault. That's the person who failed to present that same strength. So, for example, say, going back to the idea, say you're a world leader. Say you put this position of strength out there. If I'm the next president and I fail to maintain it, that's on me.
No, you don't just put a position of strength. You actually put treaties and agreements behind it, something on paper. That's what so that the next president is already under obligation. We got a deal, and if you break this deal, something happens. That's what you do. You don't just sit there and meet the guy and exchange love letters. There's nothing sticking that together. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, with North Korea, there was actual paper deals. But once Biden took office and he started rolling back everything Trump did, North Korea looked at it like, this guy's not going to stop me if I decide to go back to doing what I want.
I don't know if I've seen those deals.
Fuck this. And I'm going to do what I want.
All right, Matt. I do got to move it on. All right. We disagree, but come on back anytime, Matt. Good talk.
Anytime, my friend. You are one of my favorite people to listen to and talk to, because you actually have rational conversations. You don't result to ad hominem attacks.
Thank you. It's an honor. Always welcome back.
Have a great day.
You too. All right, looking in the comments, Trump rolled up everything Obama did. That is true. And Biden has not rolled up everything Trump has done. In fact, the high tariffs on Chinese imports, Biden has not rolled those back from the Trump administration. In fact, a lot of Trump's border policies, which folks give Trump credit for securing the border, Biden hasn't gotten rid of most of those. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to around 60,000 likes. Show your boy some love. As always, program is forever will remain MAGA friendly. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So understand when you get in the box, you're allowed free speech. You don't have to agree with the host. No one is going to censor or limit your time in any way, fashion, or form simply because you have a disagreement with yours truly. It's not about that. It's about free speech here. Looking in the comments here, anything imported to this country needs tariffs. Don't tax the people. Yeah, but because we have a huge trade imbalance with China, it's different than, trading with other countries where they're making most of the things that we consume here. And then when we try to send something to their people, they were taxing it at an unfairly high rate. Trump got some of that under control. So there are some good issues with President Trump. I was a big fan of him talking about taxing John Deere, for instance, and taxing products coming out of Mexico, because there was also a trade imbalance with them. It's just when he got off the rails with the insults and tweets. I am one of those moderate liberals who looks at the Trump administration and says, it wasn't all bad. In fact, there was some of it. The country was doing fairly well financially, economically. However, I'm not a fan of someone deliberately trying to divide people. You can point out things that liberals are doing that's wrong without making insulting nicknames and things like that. I mean, Elizabeth Warren lies and claims that she's part Native American. You can point that out. You don't have to call her Pocahontas. I'm not a fan of it. I get that my beloved MAGA enjoyed that stuff. Something great to cheer on and laugh about. Well, you laugh the guy right out of office. You laugh the guy right out of when he's bullying folks and doing that and pissing people off. Understand that when you're later pointing out witch hunts and politicized indictments, it's coming from the stuff you were laughing at. All of a sudden, the bullied kid is now standing over you with a pistol, and you're, why the hell does he want to shoot me? Remember when you were laughing and you were having fun at him being bullied and pushed around? Well, looks like he's about to shoot you now. You got a problem on your hands. And that is what we're dealing with President Trump. I do believe that some of the indictments against President Trump are political in nature. I do believe that. However, that don't mean he's innocent of them. I believe that they're using actual crimes that they may have otherwise turned a blind eye to. Because the guy's been an asshole. Because the guy has criticized and insulted so many elite members of our society. I've used this example numerous times. You get pulled over for speeding. You start talking shit to the cops. All of a sudden, they're giving you tickets for low tread on your tire, a broken license plate light, the windows are too tinted. They're making up other shit. Is it politicized tickets? Yeah, but they're based on actual violations. Things that they normally would have turned a blind eye to, but because you're talking shit, now all of a sudden you're coming home with a host of tickets. I do believe that Trump is dealing with that because he insulted and basically bullied so many people that are among America's elite that they're like, well, shit, get them for whatever you can. In fact, how many of you folks out there believe that if you have to go to court, whether it's for speeding or a murder charge, that you could get away with insulting the judge all over social media while the judge knows you're doing it? How many of you believe you could get away with that? Because Trump is doing that also. So if all of a sudden judges start suggesting that he be held in contempt, or they start yelling sustained when the prosecutor wants to do something, and objection when his team wants to do something, folks are going to be saying, well, the judge is not even treating them right at his trial. Well, when you're criticizing people and their families, as I say on the program all the time, I'm a huge proponent of free speech. I believe the folks should be able to speak. But that doesn't mean the shit doesn't come without consequences. You can't say whatever you want and just expect people to swallow it. That is what has been happening with the rise of Trump. He should be able to speak. He talks like a typical New Yorker. That's fine. But New Yorkers have consequences. And that's what's going on. Looking in the box. We'll keep it moving. The one and only Stacey's mom. I think I may have clicked the wrong thing here. Let me see what I clicked here. May have just done something here. I don't know what the hell did I just do. All right, I may have to reset this shit. Something's going on.